There are fears that the war in Iran could escalate after Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen said they have launched a second wave of missiles and drones against Israel. Well, the Houthis have in the past attacked shipping in the Red Sea, and there are fears they could target the Bab al-Mandab Strait, a vital global shipping route. Elsewhere, there have been attacks across the region, including one on a US military base in Saudi Arabia, injuring 12 American troops. This report from our World News correspondent, Joe Inwood.
It has become a familiar sight. Iranian Red Crescent rescue teams searching through the remains of shattered buildings. The US and Israel have launched thousands of strikes right across the country. They say they have all but destroyed Iran's military capabilities. But still, the regime fires back. Today they released this footage of what they said was their 85th wave of missiles. And this was Kuwait Airport after an apparent drone strike. Dragging US Gulf allies into the conflict has been a key part of Iran's strategy. And today, another front seems to have opened. Vast crowds took to the street in Yemen after the Houthis, allies of Iran, launched missiles at Israel.
We are preparing for a multi-front war, including with the Houthis. We know how to defend Israeli civilians, and as I said before, we act, we don't talk. Anyone who threatens Israeli civilians, we will strike them.
But there is a bigger concern, that the economic war deepens. Now, if the Houthis decide to start attacking shipping in the Red Sea, it could have far-reaching economic consequences. In order to avoid the Strait of Hormuz, Saudi Arabia is currently diverting around 4 million barrels of oil a day through a pipeline to Yanbu on the Red Sea coast. Now, that means the oil bound for the Asian market can then sail south in relative safety past Yemen. But that's not always been a safe route. For nearly 2 years, the Houthis attacked international shipping, damaging around 30 vessels. Now they say they could target commercial shipping again, making the Bab al-Mandab Strait a key flashpoint, blocking routes for Saudi oil in both directions, with huge implications for the global economy. This war is increasingly divisive in the US. Today, huge protests took place. But overnight, Donald Trump insisted it was a fight that needed to be had.
There was blackmail period under my leadership. America is ending the threat posed by this radical regime.
There are diplomatic efforts to end the war. Pakistan has said it will host talks with Egypt and Turkey, a sign of just how widely the shockwaves are spreading. But both sides seem to be talking at cross purposes. The US has said Iran is defeated, essentially calling for their surrender, while the message coming from Tehran is equally uncompromising.
Trump and the commanders of the US Army must have clearly understood that the region will turn into a graveyard for American soldiers, and they will have no option but to surrender.
All the while, the human cost of the war continues to grow. The Iranian Red Crescent released this footage following what they said was an Israeli strike. The US has said this could all be over in weeks. How that will happen is far from clear. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, live now to our correspondent James Waterhouse, who's in Jerusalem for us now. And James, to what extent do you think the Houthi attack on Israel is an escalation of the war in Iran?
Well, Ben, the footprint of this already vast war is widening further. Now, it was always likely that should Iran have asked the Houthis for help, they would have said yes because of their long-standing relationship, because of the military and financial aid the Houthis had received from Iran. We have had 2 reported missile strikes or attempted missile strikes today. Israel's air defences aren't usually too troubled by missiles launched from the south, but of course it's also having to defend against salvo after salvo of Iranian missiles, which make their way over, and today has been no exception. And so when you think about America's claim or wish that this war will be over in weeks rather than months, when you consider Israel's own widening offensive in southern Lebanon, where 1,100 civilians have been killed and counting, there's very little sign here in Israel that the war is winding down in any way.
All right, James, thank you very much indeed. 3 Lebanese journalists have been killed in a targeted Israeli airstrike on their press vehicle in southern Lebanon. Among those killed was a well-known correspondent for Al-Manar TV, a station affiliated to the Iranian-backed Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. The Israeli army claim he was a Hezbollah member who had been exposing Israeli military positions without providing evidence. Well, also today, a funeral was held for a boy who was among 5 people killed in 2 airstrikes in a town in southern Lebanon yesterday. And from there, our Middle East correspondent Hugo Bashega sent us this report.
This war is destroying not only Lebanon's present, it is also taking away part of its future. This was the funeral today for Jawad Yunis, killed in an Israeli airstrike as he played football with his cousins. He was 11. His mother was devastated.
My son is gentle and pure. He loved the idea of martyrdom, and when he grew up, he wanted to be with the resistance. He wanted to resist the enemy Israel, who killed him.
Israeli bombs have pounded towns and villages across Lebanon. In the south, Israeli troops are pushing ahead with their invasion. Israel says it is targeting Hezbollah, which has continued to launch attacks against Israel. But here, often it's civilians who were killed.
This is the location that was hit, and the scale of the destruction gives us an idea of the power of the attack. This house has been completely destroyed. There's a lot of damage in this building on this side. And people here say that this attack happened at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and that it came with no warning. And this is the fear that many have across this country of not knowing when and where the next Israeli attack will hit.
The Israeli military is yet to explain why it attacked this building. Lebanese officials say more than 120 children have been killed by Israeli attacks in this war, with hundreds more wounded.
And then my back.
Jawad's aunt, Zainab, survived the attack.
1 hour later, I have...
She has a broken spine and fractured leg, but doctors believe she will fully recover.
Had you ever imagined that something like this could happen to you?
No, at all. There's nothing for Israel to bomb us, because I'm sitting with my husband and with my children.
We're playing football with me and my cousins, and then Israel do this thing.
Israel and Hezbollah are vowing to keep on fighting, and more innocent children will be lost to a war they're too young to understand. Hugo Bashega, BBC News, Southern Lebanon.